Kale's shuttle hummed softly as it descended through the violet-hued atmosphere of Lithera. The city beneath shimmered like a jewel, its towers spiraling upward, suspended in midair by technologies that defied every law of physics Kale had learned on Earth. He pressed his forehead against the viewport, mesmerized. For all his training and preparation, nothing could have readied him for this moment, the first time a human had truly set foot on this distant world. He felt both awe and unease. Humanity had dreamed of the stars for centuries, and now he was living that dream, standing at the threshold of a civilization unlike any he had imagined. His mission was clear: establish a diplomatic rapport with Princess Alira, Lithera's heir, and represent Earth's interests in a galaxy full of uncertainty. But Kale couldn't shake the feeling that he had stumbled into something far larger than a simple diplomatic encounter. The shuttle landed silently atop a floating platform that seemed to hover without visible means of support. As the ramp extended, a subtle wave of energy brushed against Kale, causing him to stumble slightly. He quickly regained his balance and stepped out, greeted by a figure who seemed to move with an elegance that made even gravity feel secondary. The guard, tall and slender with eyes that reflected a pale light, inclined his head and spoke in a melodic tone that Kale barely understood at first. A translator device in his ear converted the sounds into perfect English. "Welcome, human. The princess awaits you." Kale swallowed, nodding. His mind raced with questions about what awaited him, but he reminded himself to remain calm. Diplomacy required composure. Anything else could jeopardize not only his mission, but humanity's place in the galactic community. The corridor leading to the princess's chambers was unlike any architecture Kale had seen. Walls of a translucent material shifted color subtly, reflecting emotions or intentions he could not yet read. Soft light flowed beneath the floors, illuminating the path without casting shadows. The air smelled faintly of something sweet and unfamiliar, and every sound he made seemed to be absorbed before it could echo. Kale felt as if he had stepped into a dream that was only partially real. When they reached a set of enormous doors, the guards stepped aside. Kale hesitated, taking a deep breath. The stories he had heard about Princess Alira portrayed her as brilliant, cunning, and unapproachable. Yet there was also an undercurrent in the intelligence briefings. She was curious, open-minded, and capable of understanding beings very different from her own species. He stepped forward. The doors opened silently, and Kale found himself in a chamber that could only be described as breathtaking. It was vast, with ceilings that seemed to stretch into infinity. Strange crystalline structures protruded from the walls, refracting light into patterns that danced like living fire. In the center of the room, seated upon a low dais, was Alira. She was not merely beautiful. She radiated presence. Her eyes were a deep, liquid gold, reflecting a wisdom that seemed older than time itself. "Kale of Earth," she said, her voice both soft and commanding. "You have traveled far to reach Lithera. I welcome you." Kale bowed respectfully. "Princess Alira, it is an honor to meet you." "I bring greetings from humanity." She inclined her head, acknowledging his words, then gestured for him to rise. "You are aware, I assume, that few outsiders are granted access to this chamber." "I understand," Kale replied, "and I am grateful for this opportunity." For a moment they studied each other in silence. Kale sensed that Alira was measuring more than his words. She was studying his very essence, his reactions, his presence. Humans had a reputation in Lithera for being unpredictable, both fascinating and dangerous. Kale wondered if that unpredictability was why he had been chosen for this mission. "I have read of your species," she said finally, breaking the silence. "Humans are small, fragile creatures by comparison to most intelligent life in this sector. Yet you possess a tenacity that is remarkable. Tell me, Kale, what drives your people to leave the safety of their homeworld to venture into the unknown?" Kale considered her question. Now, he could speak of exploration, of scientific curiosity, of humanity's need to grow beyond its confines. but he sensed that Aelira wanted more than rehearsed answers. "Survival, perhaps," he said carefully, "and hope. We are a fragile species, yes, but we endure, we adapt, and we dream of something greater than ourselves." Aelira's eyes flickered with interest.
"Dreams can be dangerous," she said, "but they can also be transformative."
"You speak with sincerity, Kale. That alone is uncommon." Kale allowed himself a small measure of relief. This was not the meeting of politeness and protocol he had expected. This was something deeper. He felt the weight of it pressing on him, the responsibility, the possibility, the sheer magnitude of representing humanity in a chamber that held centuries of secrets. "You will see much in Lithira that is unlike anything on Earth," Aelira continued, rising gracefully from her seat. "And yet, some truths are best shared in privacy. If you are willing, I will show you something that most have never seen." Pyle's heart quickened. He had expected diplomacy, discussions of treaties and trade. He had not expected an invitation into the private chamber of a princess, an invitation into the very heart of Lithiran secrets. "I am willing," he said, his voice steady despite the sudden surge of anticipation. Aelira led him through a side door, hidden behind a crystalline wall. The space beyond was smaller, intimate, and filled with objects that seemed to hum with life. Holoscreens displayed star charts, records of distant planets, and images of humans, some familiar, some strange, all interacting with Lithiran technology in ways Kale had never imagined. "These are the archives of human interaction," Aelira explained. "We have observed your species for centuries. You are more remarkable than most understand. You adapt, innovate, and survive against odds that would destroy many others." Kale stepped closer to one of the holoscreens. He recognized images of early space missions, lost probes, and explorers who had vanished into the void. And yet some of these humans seemed to have been integrated into Lithiran society, their presence shaping technology and culture in ways that were subtle but profound. "I did not know," Kale began, his voice barely audible. "I had no idea humanity had been here before, in some way." Aelira nodded. "Few know and fewer understand. Your species is unique in its unpredictability, KL. That is both a risk and an asset. And now, you have arrived at a time when that uniqueness matters more than ever." Kale's mind spun. He had traveled across light years, leaving Earth behind, and now he realized that the world he had left, the planet he had called home, was no longer the measure of his life. The galaxy itself had become his home, and humanity's place in it depended on choices he was only beginning to understand. Aelira's gaze met his, unwavering. "You came seeking answers," she said softly. "Here you will find truths that cannot be unlearned. Some of them will change how you see yourself, your species, and your world. Are you prepared for that, Kale of Earth?" Kale took a deep breath, his chest tight with anticipation and fear. I am," he said. "I want to understand." "I want to help." The princess smiled faintly, a gesture that seemed to illuminate the entire chamber. "Then let us begin. You will see why some doors, once opened, can never be closed. And you will learn why, perhaps, you can never truly return to the home you left behind." Cal felt a shiver run down his spine. He had expected diplomacy. He had expected intrigue. But what awaited him in this chamber was something far greater, the revelation that humanity's story in the galaxy was only just beginning, and that his own destiny was now intertwined with forces he could barely comprehend. As the first holorecord flickered to life, showing humans in ways Kale had never imagined, he realized the truth of Aelira's words. He could never go home. Not in the way he had left it. He was no longer merely a visitor to the stars. He was part of something far larger, a human woven into the tapestry of the universe itself. The chamber pulsed softly with light, as if acknowledging his presence. Kale took a step forward and with it stepped into the unknown, aware that every choice he made from this moment on would shape the fate of his people, and perhaps the galaxy. He did not yet know what awaited him, but for the first time he understood that being human was both a gift and a responsibility in ways he had never imagined. And in the private chamber of Princess Aelira, Kale's journey truly began. Kale spent hours in the princess's private chamber, absorbing what he could from the holoscreens. Each image, each record, seemed to whisper fragments of a hidden history. He saw humans who had disappeared during early deep space exploration, not lost as everyone believed, but quietly woven into Litheran society. Some had contributed to technology that now powered entire cities. Others had influenced philosophy, art, and strategy. Humans had touched the galaxy in ways Earth never realized, and Kale felt a mixture of pride and disbelief. Aila watched him silently, standing near a crystalline window that looked out over the floating city. The colors of the atmosphere shifted with the day's cycles, casting violet and gold across the chamber. "You seem surprised," she said, her voice soft yet commanding. Hayal shook his head. I knew humans were resilient, resourceful, but this is beyond anything I could have imagined. Humans influencing civilizations across light years, shaping the galaxy from the shadows. I never realized. Aelira nodded. Your species is remarkable in ways many cannot understand. You survive where others fail, and you adapt when all odds seem against you. That is why I watch humanity closely, and why I chose to meet you. Kale swallowed. Why me? Why now? Because the galaxy is changing, Aelira said, turning to face him. And your species has a role to play, whether you accept it or not. There are forces moving in the dark, forces that do not welcome change. They will challenge every assumption you have about survival, loyalty, and what it means to be human. Call felt a knot tighten in his stomach. This was no longer diplomacy or exploration. This was something far more dangerous. He had come here expecting conversation, perhaps negotiations. Instead, he had stepped into a story he could not have predicted. "Show me," he said finally. "Show me everything I need to know." "I want to understand, Aelira. I want to help." Aelira's eyes softened slightly. "Very well. But once you see, there will be no going back." She gestured to a section of the chamber Kale hadn't explored. A series of holographic maps floated mid-air, displaying not only Lythera but entire star systems. Streams of light traced paths across the galaxy, trade routes, communication lines, areas of conflict, and, most striking of all, regions where humans had already left their mark.
"These are the currents of influence," Aelira explained.
Humans are unpredictable. You alter things without intending to, and yet your presence is felt. Your kind does not follow rules easily, and for that reason you are dangerous and valuable. Kale studied the maps. He recognized star systems mentioned in human history, old colonies, long-lost research stations, abandoned ships now integrated into alien networks. Some of the streams of light seemed to suggest humans had even been part of conflicts between alien civilizations, tipping the balance subtly but significantly. "Your species is woven into the galaxy's story," Aelira said quietly. "And now the story is entering a new chapter, one that requires careful choice." Kale tried to process it. His mind raced, thinking of Earth, of the people he had left behind. Could they understand that humanity was already part of something far greater than their home world? That the fate of entire star systems might one day hinge on the decisions of humans they considered ordinary? "Why me?" he asked again. "Why choose one human to understand this?" "Because," Aelira said, her voice steady, "humans are more than their technology or strategy. You think creatively. You act unpredictably. You feel in ways many of my people cannot. That combination is rare. You are a bridge, Kale. A bridge between your world and the rest of the galaxy. And bridges can be fragile. They can be destroyed. Or they can endure, changing everything around them. Kyle looked down at his hands. He had trained for diplomacy, for communication, for survival. But he realized none of his training could have prepared him for the weight of responsibility he now faced. To fail was not just personal. It could affect humanity as a whole. And yet, he felt a spark of resolve. I will do it, he said. I don't know what I will face, but I will do whatever I can to help. Humanity, we don't give up easily. Alira's lips curved slightly in what he could only interpret as a smile. Good, because the challenges ahead are unlike anything you have encountered. There are factions in the galaxy that will see humanity as a threat. They will try to contain you, or destroy you. And the question is, will your species rise, or will it be erased from the larger story? Before Kale could answer, the chamber trembled faintly. Lights flickered, a faint hum filled the air. Ilira's expression darkened, and she moved to a control console embedded in one of the walls. They've found us, she said grimly. A faction in the Outer Rim is aware of your presence. They do not welcome outsiders, especially humans. Kale's pulse quickened. What do they want? Control, Alira said. Influence. And they see humans as unpredictable chaos. That chaos could upset their carefully balanced plans. They will try to remove you from the equation, by any means necessary. Kale realized in that instant that his mission had become far more urgent. He had not merely come to learn, he had come to act, to survive, and perhaps even to prove that humans could stand against threats far larger and more powerful than themselves. Ilira turned back to him. You must understand, Kale, that returning to Earth as if nothing has changed is no longer possible. Once a human experiences the galaxy in this way, once they see the web of influence and danger, they are forever altered. Home is not a place. It is a responsibility.
Kale nodded slowly, letting the words sink in.
He had expected excitement, curiosity, perhaps even fear. But what he felt now was clarity. Humanity could no longer remain isolated. If humans wanted to survive and thrive among the stars, they would have to embrace this new reality. The holoscreens shifted, showing real-time data, ships approaching Lithera, patterns of energy that suggested surveillance and reconnaissance, and small points of movement that indicated alien vessels moving in formation. Kale realized these were not simple patrols. They were a deliberate threat. "What can I do?" he asked. Alira placed a hand on one of the floating consoles. "You will observe. You will learn. But most importantly, you will act when necessary. Your species has instincts, intuition, and courage. These are tools no other civilization wields in quite the same way. And you, Kale, will be the first to wield them on our side." Kale felt a surge of determination. He had always believed humans were resilient, but he had never fully grasped the magnitude of that resilience. In this moment, in the princess's private chamber, he understood that humanity's greatest strength was not technology, not numbers, not strategy. It was ingenuity, the ability to adapt, to think beyond rules, to survive against impossible odds. That was why humans had endured, why they had left traces across the galaxy, and why he had been chosen for this mission. Alira studied him silently, then gestured toward a central console that pulsed with light. "There is much to learn," she said. "You will start here. Understand our systems, our alliances, our vulnerabilities. Learn what it means to be part of a galaxy that is not your own, but where your actions will shape its future. There is no turning back." Kale approached the console, his fingers hovering above the controls. He could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. And yet, beneath the pressure, he felt something else. A thrill. Humanity had never been part of something this vast, this important. The future of his species, and perhaps the galaxy itself, might depend on what he did next. Hours passed, and Cale absorbed as much as he could. He learned the locations of colonies, the political alignments of various species, and the hidden threats that moved through the Outer Rim. Every discovery reminded him that humans were only beginning to play their part, that every choice could ripple across light years in ways he could barely imagine. When the chamber finally dimmed and the holoscreens quieted, Cale leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. He had learned truths that would haunt him and inspire him. He had glimpsed the vast potential of humanity, and he had seen the dangers that could end it. But most importantly, he understood one fact above all. He could never return to Earth as he had known it. He had crossed a threshold, and the universe had changed him forever. Aelira approached, her golden eyes reflecting the soft glow of the chamber. "You see now, Cale, why some doors cannot be closed, and why some truths demand action. Humanity is part of a story larger than any one planet, and you, for better or worse, are at the center of it." Cale nodded, feeling the truth of her words deep within him. He was no longer merely a human diplomat from Earth. He was a participant in a galaxy-wide narrative, one that required courage, ingenuity, and unwavering resolve. And he would rise to meet it, because that was what humans did. They survived, they adapted, and when the stakes were highest, they shone brightest. As the chamber doors closed behind him and the night fell over the floating city of Lithera, Cale realized that his journey had only just begun. The galaxy awaited him, full of wonders, challenges, and secrets, and he was ready. He could never go home, not really, but perhaps, he thought with a small smile, he did not need to. Home was no longer a place. Home was the stars, and humanity had finally begun to take its rightful place among them. Cale spent the next day immersed in Lythera's systems. Guided by Aelira, the private chamber had become a war room, its holoscreens alive with movement, strategy, and hidden information. Streams of light traced the paths of alien fleets, maps of distant star systems, and patterns of trade and communication Cale had never dreamed existed. He moved between consoles, learning faster than he thought possible. Humans had a reputation for quick thinking, and Cale was proving it. Yet despite the complexity of the data, his mind kept returning to the warning Aelira had given. There were factions that did not welcome humans. Cale had assumed they were distant, vague threats. Now he understood that they were real, precise, and dangerously close. His training had prepared him for diplomacy, but the galaxy did not always respect training. Survival required instinct, adaptability, and courage, the traits that had defined humanity for millennia. Aelira moved beside him, pointing at a cluster of dots that glimmered in the outer rim of Lithera's system. "These ships are not merely observing," she said. "They are probing, testing our defenses, learning our routines. They will strike if we do not act first." Cale leaned forward, analyzing the data. The ships were faster than anything Earth had launched, equipped with energy weapons and shielding technology far beyond human experience. Yet their patterns were predictable, at least to him. Humans could detect subtle patterns, anticipate moves that machines alone could not calculate. "I think I see a way," Cale said, excitement threading his voice. "They rely on predictable routes and timing. If we create a diversion and alter our expected positions, we could draw them into a trap without losing any Lytheran ships." Aelira regarded him with a mixture of surprise and admiration. "Boast of my council would never suggest such a bold move," she said. But humans think differently. They are unafraid of risk, yet not reckless. That is why I chose you." Cale felt a surge of pride, but it was tempered by reality. This was not a game. Lives were at stake, Lytheran and human alike. Yet the challenge thrilled him. Humans had survived against impossible odds for generations, And here was another test, across the stars, with the galaxy watching. The two of them worked through the day, coordinating defenses, plotting maneuvers, and designing simulations. Kale suggested minor changes that amplified the Lytheran fleet's efficiency, rearranging formations and creating unpredictability that would confuse their enemies. Ailira's team initially hesitated, wary of his boldness, but soon they began to see the brilliance of human intuition. By nightfall, Kale and Ailira stood in the observation deck, overlooking the city. Lights shimmered across Lythira's floating towers, reflected in the violet sky. The enemy fleet had begun its approach, and tension filled the air like static electricity. Kale's heart pounded, not with fear, but with purpose. Humanity had always thrived when stakes were high, and this moment demanded everything he could give. "Are you ready?" Ailira asked, her golden eyes steady. Kale nodded, "Ready as I'll ever be." The first ships appeared on the hollow screens, sleek, dark, and numerous. They advanced in precise formation, scanning the system, testing defenses. Kale's plan relied on timing, coordination, and unpredictability. The diversion had to succeed or the enemy would strike first. As the Lytheran fleet moved according to his calculations, Kale monitored every detail. He noted the smallest deviations in the enemy's pattern, suggesting overconfidence, an assumption that Lythera would act predictably. He adjusted simulations in real time, sending instructions to the Lytheran commanders. The diversion began. Small decoy ships moved along the predicted paths, drawing the enemy fleet into channels carefully prepared for them. Energy shields shimmered as the enemy's weapons were deflected harmlessly, their approach slowed by traps Kale had helped design. For the first time, humans had altered the flow of an alien battle in ways no one could have anticipated. Ailira watched him closely, noting the calm precision with which he gave orders and adjusted strategies. "Your people truly are remarkable," she said quietly. "You do not rely solely on strength or technology. You think, adapt, and endure. That is why humanity has survived, and why it will survive beyond Earth." The enemy, confused by the unpredictable movements, attempted to retreat, but Kale had anticipated that too. Hidden Lytheran forces struck from unexpected angles, surrounding the attackers. Energy beams streaked across space, disabling weapons and engines without unnecessary destruction. Lythira's defenders moved like a single organism, their actions coordinated by Kale's insight and Ailira's command. Within hours, the threat was neutralized. The enemy ships retreated, damaged but alive, leaving Lythira unscathed. Kale exhaled deeply, feeling exhaustion and exhilaration in equal measure. He had just witnessed something incredible. Human ingenuity, when combined with trust and collaboration, could rival civilizations far more advanced than Earth. Ailira approached him once the fleet was secure. "You have done more than aid us in defense," she said. "You have shown my council that humans are not merely observers. They are participants. They can influence, adapt, and survive. You have earned a place not just here, but in the galaxy itself."
Kale shook his head, overwhelmed.
"I did what anyone would do. We survive."
"That's what humans do. We do not surrender to odds, no matter how impossible they seem." Aela smiled. "And that is precisely why your species matters. The galaxy will need your kind in ways that even Earth cannot yet imagine. You have proven that unpredictability, intuition, and courage are weapons as powerful as any fleet or energy cannon." As the night deepened, Kale remained on the observation deck, staring at the stars. He thought of Earth, of the people who believed humanity was alone and fragile, unaware of the vast influence they had already begun to wield. He realized that the world he had left behind was only the beginning. Humanity had potential, and in the right hands, his hands, humans could shape the galaxy for good. The next day brought new challenges. Lytheran council members debated Kale's strategies, some skeptical of a human's influence, others intrigued by the results. Political intrigue ran deep, with factions vying for control and influence. Kale found himself navigating not only battles, but diplomacy, using the same traits that had saved the city to negotiate alliances, mediate disputes, and inspire cooperation. Illyra watched his interactions, her respect growing. "You are learning quickly," she said. "Not just our systems, but our people. That is the key, Kale. Technology can be copied, fleets can be built, but understanding others, their motivations, their fears, their hopes, is the true measure of influence." Kyle nodded. "Humans understand that too. It is why we survive. We learn, we adapt, and we persist. And sometimes we risk everything to protect what matters." Ayala studied him, her gaze thoughtful. "You have learned much already, yet the galaxy is vast, and danger is never far. Your choices from this point on will echo through systems, shaping events in ways neither you nor I can fully predict. That is the burden of being human in a universe that did not anticipate your species' potential." Kale felt the weight of her words, but did not flinch. For the first time, he truly understood that humanity was not fragile. Humans had endured plagues, wars, and natural disasters on Earth. Across the stars, they could face threats unimaginable, and they would endure. The galaxy had underestimated them for centuries, but no more. Over the following days, Kale continued to coordinate with Lytheran forces, refining defenses, monitoring potential threats, and preparing for any eventuality. He developed strategies that combined human intuition with alien technology, creating solutions that neither species could have achieved alone. Every challenge he faced only reinforced his belief. Humanity had a role to play in the cosmos, and it was a role worth embracing, fully. Late one evening, as he reviewed data alone in the chamber, Kale thought again of home. Earth seemed distant, almost like a memory. The people he had left behind were unaware of the cosmic stakes humanity now faced. And yet, he realized, he did not feel sadness. He felt purpose. He had crossed a threshold. There was no turning back. Home was no longer a place on a planet. It was a responsibility, a mission, and a connection to something far larger than any one individual or species. Illyra appeared at the chamber entrance, her expression unreadable, but her presence commanding.
"You have done well," she said. "But remember, Kale, this is only the beginning."
"The galaxy will continue to test you, humanity, and those who dare to stand beside you. Prepare yourself, for the choices ahead will define not only your future, but the future of countless worlds." Kale met her gaze, feeling the gravity of the moment. "I am ready," he said. "Whatever comes, humanity will endure. We will adapt, we will survive, and we will rise. That is what we do." Illyra inclined her head. "Then the galaxy will watch and perhaps learn that humans are not merely fragile creatures from a small world. They are unpredictable, resourceful, and capable of changing the course of history. Your species has a future among the stars, if it is willing to claim it." Hale turned back to the holoscreens, already anticipating the next challenge. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and dangers alike, and yet he felt no fear. Humanity had survived worse. Humanity had endured impossible odds before. And now, standing beside Princess Illyra, Kale understood fully that the story of his species was only beginning, and that humans were ready to rise to meet it. As the stars twinkled beyond the chamber, Kale felt the first real sense of belonging beyond Earth. He was part of something larger, something alive, something that demanded courage, ingenuity, and perseverance. And he knew, deep in his heart, that the galaxy had only begun to see the true potential of humanity. For the first time, Kale smiled, not as a visitor but as a participant in a story that would echo across the stars. He could never go home, not in the way he had left it, but he understood now that perhaps he did not need to. Humanity's place was here, among the stars, and it was only a matter of time before the universe recognized it. The morning light over Lythera's floating city shimmered like liquid gold, casting long reflections across the crystalline spires. Hale stood on the observation deck overlooking the city and the surrounding expanse of stars. Every moment since his arrival had been a whirlwind of discoveries, strategies, and revelations about the galaxy, and about humanity's hidden potential. Now the final challenge loomed. Iolira approached, her golden eyes calm but sharp.
Kaio, the factions we have been monitoring are coordinating a direct assault.
This is no longer a probing mission. They intend to seize Lythera's core systems. If they succeed, humanity's presence in the galaxy could be erased before it truly begins. Kale clenched his fists. Then we cannot let that happen. We've prepared as much as possible, but this will be the ultimate test. She nodded. Your understanding of unpredictability, human ingenuity, and adaptation is now crucial. I trust your judgment, Kale. Lead where my council hesitates, and humanity will finally prove its worth among the stars. The first enemy ships appeared at the horizon, their dark silhouettes moving swiftly through the violet atmosphere. Unlike before, they were coordinated, precise, and aggressive. Kale quickly analyzed their approach, mapping potential weaknesses and creating multiple contingencies. The Lytheran fleet was ready, but this assault would push everyone to their limits. Kale coordinated the fleet from the chamber, issuing instructions with calm confidence.
Deploy the drones in staggered formations, he said. Use the energy currents to mask your approach. Do not engage until they are within the trap zone. Remember, unpredictability is our advantage.
Iolira's team worked alongside him, implementing his strategies. Kale realized that his human intuition, combined with Lytheran technology, created solutions neither species could achieve alone. His confidence grew, and the fleet responded like a living organism, adapting to the enemy's movements with precision, guided by Kale's insight. The first wave struck, energy beams lit the sky as the enemy fired upon Lythera's defenses. But the traps Kale had designed worked perfectly. Ships were diverted into energy fields that slowed them, causing confusion and misalignment. The Lytheran fleet countered swiftly, disabling weapons and shielding critical infrastructure. Kale's heart raced, but his mind remained sharp, calculating and predicting the next moves. Hours passed, and the battle intensified. Enemy forces adapted, attempting maneuvers Kale had not anticipated. For the first time, he had to improvise mid-action, using human creativity to outthink the alien commanders. He suggested splitting the fleet, creating decoy formations, and sending small teams into unexpected attack vectors. The strategy worked, striking fear and confusion into the enemy ranks. From her position, Iolira watched Kale with a mixture of admiration and relief. "Humans are extraordinary," she murmured. "You do not follow predictable rules, and that is why your species endures." Hale heard her words but focused entirely on the task at hand. One critical enemy ship moved too close to the city's energy core. If it breached the defenses, the consequences would be catastrophic. Hale's mind raced, considering options that combined speed, ingenuity, and risk. He devised a daring plan. A small, agile, human-crewed vessel would intercept the ship directly, using its energy as a conduit to disrupt the enemy systems without causing irreversible damage. He volunteered. Take it," he said. Iolira's eyes widened for a moment, but then narrowed in determination. "Then go," she said. "Trust yourself. Humanity thrives in moments like this." Kale boarded the vessel with a team of Lytheran pilots. Together, they raced toward the enemy ship, weaving through energy beams and dodging fire. Kale's human instincts guided them, predicting enemy maneuvers in ways the AI systems could not. He calculated angles, timing, and pressure points, then gave the final order. The ship connected with the enemy vessel's energy field, sending a pulse that temporarily disabled its weapons and shields. The fleet's synchronized attack completed the strike, forcing the remaining enemy ships to retreat. The battle was over. Lithera had survived, and humanity's role had been proven. Kale floated for a moment in the vessel's control room, exhilarated and exhausted. He had faced the impossible and survived, relying on the very qualities that defined his species: intuition, creativity, and courage. Humanity had been underestimated, yet here they were, standing victorious in a galaxy that had doubted them. Back in the private chamber, Illyra greeted him. "You have done more than protect Lithera," she said. "You have demonstrated to my council that humans are indispensable. Your species is capable of shaping the galaxy in ways that cannot be ignored."
Kyle shook his head, trying to absorb the enormity of her words.
"I did what humans always do. We survive. We adapt. We rise to the challenge. That is all we know how to do." Illyra smiled faintly. "And that, Kyle, is why the galaxy now recognizes you not just as a visitor, but as a partner. Humanity is no longer on the sidelines. You have shown us what your kind is capable of, and the future will remember this day." As the stars outside the chamber shimmered, Kale felt a profound sense of belonging. Earth was no longer the center of his world. Humanity's story had expanded across the stars, and he was at the heart of it. The private chamber, once a place of secrets and revelations, had become a symbol of humanity's potential and resilience. In the following days, Kale worked with Illyra and the Litheran Council to formalize humanity's presence in the galactic networks. Humans were no longer merely explorers. They were participants, contributors, and protectors. Kale's insights and strategies became a model for cooperation between species, demonstrating that unpredictability and courage could match even the most advanced technology. One evening, as the city floated quietly above the violet atmosphere, Kale stood beside Illyra on the observation deck. The battle had ended, but the lessons remained. He thought of Earth, of the people who believed humanity was small and fragile, and smiled. They had yet to understand the full extent of what humans could achieve. "You have changed more than Lithera," Illyra said softly. "You have changed how the galaxy will see your species. There is no going back, Kale. Home as you knew it is gone. But what you have found here, purpose, responsibility, influence, is something far greater." Kale nodded. "I understand now. Humanity was never meant to stay on one planet. We were meant to grow, to endure, to rise beyond limits. And now we have a chance to do that among the stars, with allies we never imagined." Illyra's gaze met his, steady and unwavering. "Together we will face whatever comes next. Humanity and Lithera, side by side. Your species is ready, Kale, and you have proven it." Kale looked out over the city, the stars stretching infinitely beyond. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, not as an individual, but as a representative of something larger, a species capable of shaping its destiny. Humanity had crossed a threshold, and he had crossed it with them. For the first time, Kale truly understood that home was not a place, but a purpose. It was the responsibility to endure, to adapt, and to rise to every challenge the universe set before him. And as he stood with Illyra, watching the stars, he felt the full weight and the full promise of humanity's place among them. The galaxy was vast, filled with mysteries, dangers, and wonders beyond imagination. But Kale knew, with certainty, that humans would face it all. They would survive, adapt, and endure. They would shine, unpredictable and brilliant, in ways that no one could ignore. As Lithera's city glimmered beneath them, Kale smiled. He had learned through challenge and revelation, through risk and triumph, that humanity was more than a fragile species on a small planet. Humans were capable of greatness, courage, and resilience beyond measure, and now, in the company of Princess Illyra, he was ready to embrace that destiny fully. The stars twinkled above, infinite and silent, yet filled with possibility, and Kale knew, as he had always hoped but never fully understood, that humanity's journey among them was only beginning. For Earth had become more than a home. Humanity had become a force, and the galaxy had finally noticed.